Hi everyone, I'm Dana Marie and this is the Curious Healer, and today we've got the beautiful Alyse Young joining us, and it's a very special moment for me because we have actually journeyed for over 10 years now, haven't we?
Yes.
I first got to meet Alyse at a retreat centre that she was working at, and I was super curious and just saw this lady drumming, and I hadn't been set on this drum beat before. I was like, what is this? What is it? What is it all about? And of course, my curiosity took me to inquire a bit further, and that's how I met Alyse. So welcome, Alyse. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for dropping in. It's lovely to see you and Kerry, and always a beautiful pleasure to be with you.
Oh, I love that.
We have fun times.
We do. Very spirited, connected soul. Alyse is a intuitive, a shaman, and she also does energetic healing.
Yep.
And I don't know, just the wisest soul that I've kind of come across in a long while. So yeah, really special. And she also has a book, right?
Yes.
Talk to me.
Yep.
So an author too. Got to get all the categories in there, eh?
Thank you.
So there's my sales pitch. Now, Alyse, would you like to share a little bit about what does it mean to be you? What is it that you do?
Well, that's a good question, and I've been on this path for probably over 40 years now. And initially it was really about understanding me from the terms of why I was so sensitive to a lot of things, not understanding energy. And then really coming into an understanding of actually walking the path of truth. For me, it was actually, has been and is walking the path of truth. It's a sovereign path. It's a path of mastery. It's a path of self-realization, actualization, and healing. Yeah, and so it's all of the above. And I started out learning about energy as being feelings, and later on vibrations and frequencies. And part of that, a lot of that work was the inner child work, relating feelings back to our small self that carries all the beliefs. And then working with that, my inner shaman came through naturally. And so then the whole world of shamanism opened up for me in quite a different way, not a traditional way, but a very natural way. And so these days I still do the inner child work. I'm now focusing a lot on the awakened star seeds, our multidimensional body, which what the shamanic journey actually offers people is a glimpse into their multidimensional being. And for me, that is what shamanism is really about. It's about being fully connected to all your senses so that you're able to move in and out of those spaces energetically, as well as bringing those that knowledge and wisdom that we carry inside of us to this space to create a different reality from what we know now. It is really about a different perspective of how to live with our true nature. And our true nature is all around us. That's the truth. You know, our true nature is all around us. It's here to assist us. And it's interesting how human beings are always wanting to dominate nature. So, you know, that's a big ego statement in itself.
A little bit of the disconnect that we see in the world today, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
when I think about our connectivity with nature, it's not necessarily us and nature, it's that we are nature, and it's all one, and that interconnection is life.
It is life. And, you know, and to me, life is not about setting goals and achieving success per se. I've now come to realize after many years of, you know, just walking this road of truth, this path of truth, is that our life is really about understanding what our soul agenda is, because every soul has an agenda, and really about just fulfilling our experiences of life, whatever that might mean, okay? And so for me, I feel that my life mission has been about inner freedom, which is why I walk the path of truth. And it's understanding how I'm freeing myself from the constraints of our society, our culture, you know, our traditions, all those sorts of things, to coming back to your sovereign self. Yeah. It's big. It's big, but it's also great. It's amazing if you just take one moment at a time. That's how I would suggest it.
Absolutely. I think that's part of curiosity, isn't it? I know when your energy first got dangled in front of me, I was like, what is this? But then my curiosity soon grew. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I had never even heard of this word shaman before. What, I would love to just share a little bit more on what is shamanism, because there's quite a few examples of that in the world today. But how would you describe like what that means to you?
So shamanism actually really means a person who's able to move energy or with energy into the different dimensions. And so, like I said, I'm not a traditional shaman, but because I understand the language of energy, it's really easy for me to move from the third dimension into the 5+ dimensions, and to be able to also be with the elementals and anything really, anything that vibrates, anything that's living. It will speak to you, not in words, but in feelings and symbols. And so when you understand your true feelings and you understand how to read the symbols of life, you start to get quite a different understanding and picture of what those things actually mean. So for me, shamanism is really about understanding your own energy and the energy around you, the dynamics of the energy around you. And so the inner child work, surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but I realized after a time, was that it is actually modern day shamanism. Because what you're doing is you're taking soul fragments and bringing them back to you. You're releasing soul fragments that are not part of you, you know. And so it's understanding about when your energy is truly grounded, which means embodied in your personal physical being. Because on the third plane here, we live in a physical human body. You know, this is our vehicle in life, so to speak. And then we're connected to source, to spirit, through our feelings, actually. That's how it speaks to us, through feelings and symbols. And so when we look at the makeup of the human being and how it operates on this plane, we have a physical body which is connected to the spiritual body, and the one thing that connects it in the middle is your emotional body. So, you know, this is understanding why our feelings are really important, because it is part of that energy that helps to empower us and to, what I call, to fuel your passion into creation.
I want to talk a little bit more about that because I know that was sort of my journey of learning and understanding that I didn't understand what that energy was and how that showed up in the physical body. And I know you just spoke there a little bit to, you know, losing parts of your source energy and things. And I just wonder if you could, for a listener that hasn't really come across this world of shamanism at all, break it down into like a really, in essence, what that is for human existence. What is that in your body? What is that like? I mean, we've talked about how they get stored and they can manifest if they're not acknowledged, and you're talking about the inner child, and I just wonder if you could share a little bit more about how the child is impacting your current state, or if something's not dealt with, how that sort of manifests in your life if you're not acknowledging those spaces.
So the thing is, we live in a world which is, how shall I say it? We live in a world where we live by projections and mirrors. So anything that we've experienced, whether it's hurt or trauma, abuse, whatever it is, if you have not healed from it or not understood how to move on from that, you're constantly telegraphing it, projecting it for it to be on repeat, okay? And so, you know, we call this, all the stories we talk about our life, we call those stories, which is actually the drama, you know? And the drama is that we react to situations rather than respond to situations. So the inner child is symbolic. It's a symbolism of being able to speak to your feelings from a state of witness. So you're not meant to repeat your abuse, your traumas or hurts. You're not meant to repeat that, because that's just
Not a
a
lesson.
waste of energy, really. And so the way to deal with it is to actually talk to the part of yourself that is stuck in that, but not as a story, but as a witness of love and compassion. And in this crystalline energy, which is it's a higher frequency basically, and it carries a lot more frequencies of love, joy, compassion, acceptance, all those beautiful frequencies, okay? And so when you do this in the appropriate way, which is witnessing rather than becoming the child again, because if you're stuck in a pattern, what it means is that you became the child. So now you're reacting from that stuck energy. But if you're able to give it a space, and remember you're the adult, so you've already had the experience. Everything the child is experiencing is true and real, so you're not going to deny that, but just to acknowledge, I remember what that felt like, and it's okay. You are loved and you are safe now. I'm in charge of our life. There is love and there is compassion now. It's different. Even if you just use that simple, those simple sentences to help you through that, you're going to find that you will gently move through the hurts rather than actually it. Because what happens is that if there's resistance, you're going to feel it louder, which is why people actually are afraid of actually facing their hurts, because it just gets louder through resistance. But when you're embracing it, witnessing it from a space of love and compassion, because the truth is all the hurts have already happened. It's only repeating itself because it's what we call the shadows. So when you're experiencing a feeling from the past, what automatically happens if you don't use your awareness to pause, what will automatically happen is that you will push your energy outside of yourself. And this is what it means to be ungrounded, okay? So you push the energy outside of yourself. Now you have this energy following you, setting up your next drama, because your soul actually wants you to overcome this. And so the only way to do it is, that's part of the shamanic side now, is to bring the energy back face to face with you. And you're just going to imagine a small child. And when we imagine a small child, it's easier to deal with, because children are helpless. They actually need your support. They need the comfort. They need the acceptance and the love. That's what you're craving for on the inner level, and that's what you keep repeating on the outer level. So once you understand, you can actually start to bring your energy into your being and actually transform it. So right now we're getting lots of reports about the sun is, with the solar flares, there's a lot of plasma coming into the atmosphere. And I was very curious, I asked a question, what is the plasma? And then the answer came, the plasma is what is around cells that aids transformation. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. So I realized with the inner child work, what I'm doing, and I suggest that you use this process, is to witness, is to use a cushion so that you're giving space. This is the plasma in here. This is one ingredient, so to speak, or one value. So this will be shame or guilt or sadness or anger, whatever, okay? And within the plasma, you bring in the new value. So you're bringing in love, you're bringing in compassion, you're bringing in joy. And then this is the alchemy in the space. And as you embrace your inner child back to you, it's already transformed.
Wow.
And you can feel it. You can feel it quite quickly. So it's not hard, it's just different.
It's amazing. It's like, I know you know me well. The complexities of being a curious mind sometimes takes it down so many different ways and aspects, and what I've learned and through all of this experience is exactly that, how simple some things can be, and that relationship, you don't realize as a child some impacts that you experienced, your body automatically goes into coping mechanism. You don't know the impact of that, and then those things resurface sometimes, and you're still trying to figure out what or how that is. And I mean, even me last week, right? Like, yesterday, let's just be honest. Just my neck was just so sore, and it just kept going. And Alyse just reminded me that, your body is your signpost of things that are coming up. There's always a meaning to it, and it's actually not out to get you, right? It's actually just
assist you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And until you sort of lean into what that is, or what healing's needed, or what support needs to be there for you, it can end up just getting louder and louder, because when something's locked and you're fighting against it, and it just kind of gets worse and worse, right? So
here's the biggest clue. When you're in deep pain, it means that your body is trying to tell you to stop and to look inwards and to actually approach it from a different perspective. And so, for example, Dana's talking about the neck. The neck is all about, it's the channel which delivers source energy through the body, and the source energy also from the heart and your solar plexus, your intuition, okay? Because this, all these three centers, your pineal gland, the mind, your heart, your thymus gland, and then your solar plexus, these are three important centers of communication. And it is also the centers for creation. And so when a lot of humans at this moment are only operating from this center here, and so the neck is a very important part of that passage, And so when you have a sore neck, it usually means that you're being inflexible about something. So you're blocking the energy from actually wanting to connect and to actually move, so that you can express it from these three centers. So it's not entirely everybody's fault, apart from the fact that right from the time that we're born, we're conditioned to be mind heavy, brain heavy, okay? But our true mind is the heart, and supported by our intuitive instincts. And so when these spaces here are not being acknowledged or honored, we're coming from a single-mindedness approach, which is not always helpful. And so where was I going with that, actually, about the mind? Yeah, so I just want to remind people, if you're a great thinker and you think a lot, just to acknowledge that that's what you do. Now, the mind is supposed to serve the being, not the other way round. And at the moment, it's the other way round. So if you have an awareness, like you're going through something and there's a lot of thinking happening, what I suggest is that you breathe and drop into the body. Breathe and drop into the body. Breathe and drop into the body 3 times. And then ask yourself, how do I really feel? Because how you feel and how you think are going to be different. And that's where this is what we call alignment now. How you really feel means you actually need to update the way that you're thinking. You need to bring a different perspective so that your energy can work with you rather than against you. Okay?
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does to me.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, because we're conditioned in this world that's quite well stimulated, and there's all the structures and all the learnings, and it's very mind heavy, that we don't always get taught from a young age, even in that mental capacity of emotions or expression of emotions, or it's okay to express emotions. And so to me, coming through high performance sport and all these conditions and linear ways of being, it is not, it's taking a lot of energy, not a lot of energy, it's taking
Well, it does take a lot of energy.
yeah, it takes a lot of energy, but then it also to reform that pathway and really sit in our intuition and our sense of being and knowing, and how we show up in such a connective way. And I love that Alyse does make it super simple, like by talking to your inner child and talking and acknowledging it's not wrong. There's nothing wrong here. There's nothing wrong with the overthinking, and not to judge that. It's just to understand it and keep tuning back into your body and into your space.
So here's a clarity, I think, which is really important. First and foremost, we're born sensory beings. That is the truth. We're born sensory beings. We're given all these senses and more because this is how this body actually navigates the space that we're in. And unfortunately, feelings have been given a bad rap for a very, very long time. And it's really as a sense of controlling people. And so when we're coming back to understanding, we are sensory beings. And this is really important. I've just noticed in this last 2 years, our sensitivity has been ramped up. For the pure reason is because we're being turned on. Our multidimensional body operates through our senses. And so it's being turned up and turned on. And so to understand your feelings and to actually to be able to express them appropriately is actually very, very empowering. So it's kind of like understanding this is a human body, it's like a rocket, and if there's no energy behind you, to fuel this rocket, and that's what we're really talking about, is that the feelings is a type of fuel to be able to blast you into creation through the expression. And this is why self-expression is actually really important. How the other person feels is actually none of your business. That's their journey. Your journey is to actually acknowledge and to honor your feelings and then to express it appropriately. So that is actually the path of the sovereign being, because nobody has dominion over you. You're king, queen to yourself, and so it's understanding of how to actually navigate this being in this time space reality now. And it's all changed. It has changed so much. We are now moved out of linearity, so throw away your clocks. We're now in a spatial we're in a spatial way of creating. And so what I've really noticed, because I've lived like this for a very long time now, what I notice is that if you set your intention, do your alignment, it's not about doing, finding, it's about nurturing your creation from the space of your feelings. So you actually have to understand what the feeling actually feels like in your being, because when it arrives, if you can't feel it, then it means that your alignment isn't on yet. And so, a lot of the sages talk about everything that you want or need is already in your space. But the only reason why you're not receiving it is because there is a lack of alignment.
Yeah.
So you got to know what it feels like. It's like people saying, I want to feel loved by this person. But if you haven't done enough self-love, then how are you going to know what love feels like? Actually, that's what started me on this journey. I actually wanted to know what love felt like. And to me, it was a curious word that was thrown around. Everybody loves this and loves that, and it's just a word. I grew up listening to my parents saying something like, there's no such thing as love, be a good person. And so without realizing it, I was actually blocking what I perceived, or what love is really, because love is actually everywhere. It's all around us, but it's what we're giving value to that is actually misguiding us away from love. And so really, it's about unlearning everything you learned and giving your life and values a different perspective, so it works for you, not for everyone else, but for you. And that's important, because we came here to be different. We didn't come here to be the same.
Powerful.
That's a hard one for a lot of people. I know that.
Yeah, that's in simple essence, right? It's all love. The energy of love, the vibration of love, and it's the hardness of that is just the uncertainty around that, and the fear of the unknown, and that space of questioning, well, what is love? And it isn't about what is love out there, it's about what is love in here. And I think that's a beautiful message to ask ourselves and to embody.
I think it's really about remembering, because as a child you sense things differently to what is being said around you, and that is the biggest confusion for children, because adults are saying one thing and children are sensing something completely different, because they're very psychic. When you're a child, you're still very, very psychic, so you're really connected to the unseen world because they're still in their senses, And so when you're told that you're wrong for feeling something, or that what you're feeling doesn't exist, you begin to doubt yourself. And that's where it all started, that's where the doubt started, was because you were not being supported or acknowledged for the way you felt. And just remembering how you feel and how another person's how they feel is different. But it's being okay with your feelings and giving a perspective that is appropriate for your experience.
I love that. Yeah.
And for me, it's, like I lived in Kalalau, it's a valley in Kauai. So I was just living in nature for about 3 years actually. And it was the most magical experience I've ever had. And I still carry it and remember it in my being. And I remember being there for the first 2 weeks, just with practically nothing. All the things that I carried in, plastic spoon, a plastic knife, a little pot so I could cook stuff with, and before the trip I was actually quite frightened, because I was like, I've never camped before, I've never lived outdoors before, and now my soul's asking me to stay in Kalalau for 6 months. How am I going to manage that, But in the first 2 weeks and living in a little tent, I was the happiest I'd ever felt. It was a happiness that I'd never ever experienced in my outside life. And I remember sitting at the river and just looking at everything around me, and all I could feel was this immense beauty, immense gratitude, and just this feeling of love and joy actually. And in that moment I understood the formula for magic is, in my formula anyway, love, beauty, and what was the other one?
Connection?
Oh, darn it. I had it there a minute ago. It was love, beauty, and it's probably joy actually. Joy, yeah. And I realized every time I was in that state, things would just magically appear. And that's how I came to conclude this is the formula for magic. And I know that a lot of people experience it in small spurts in the outside world, but the reason why people don't experience it enough is because we're governed by a lot of stress. We're governed by a lot of limitations. We're governed by expectations that are put on us from others.
Yeah.
And when we start to strip those things back and actually decide on what is really important for our soul journey, then life becomes magical. So a lot of things will show up for me in what I call effortlessness. And it always comes to me. I don't actually have to go looking for it. It always comes to me. And that is how magic really works.
And I can be an absolute observer of that, witnessing Alyse over the years. It's very true. And it is when you're shifting more into attunement and alignment with yourself and those simplicities, really, and finding that inner discovery of all of those beautiful essences of life, that you take that trying hat off and flow.
Yeah.
And just staying in with flow. Wow, so much wisdoms. I love it. It's a very enriching podcast, YouTube today, and is there anything else that you feel like you want to send out to the world, because you've just gifted us so much incredible wisdom there?
It's to really understand grounding. Grounding is not a concept, it's a feeling. And I spend a lot of time taking people through grounding, because it's an experiential feeling in the body. And so I'm aware that a lot of people have a concept of grounding, but to actually feel it, and to practice it on a daily basis, especially in these new energies, because they're fast. And so to help you with that, I do have a recording on SoundCloud. It's simply my name, Alyse Young, and it's just called Grounding Exercise 2015. That's when I put it up by mistake, but it's there now. And so if you want to test your own grounding, just go ahead and listen to the recording and be aware of how your body felt before and how your body felt after. If it felt completely different, or massively different, then you know that this is something you want to practice. Because all you're doing is you're practicing holding your personal energy. And you'll soon get to get used to your energy. And what that does is it just brings you closer to your own inner knowing. That's really what it's about, is coming back to your own inner knowing and operating from that space. Like what I've been witnessing in 2026 already is it's like a leap into a deepening of coming into your knowing. And so by having conscious conversations, and I'm loving this because I'm just having conscious conversations with friends and colleagues, it's just taking me into a deeper space of knowing things that I didn't know, but I did know. And it's been beautiful because I'm just witnessing this information coming through me now. And that's really what we're talking about, is this connection back to your sovereignty, your inner mastery. Yeah. So blessings be in the year of the horse coming, because it's going to get faster. And so, your seatbelt is actually your groundedness.
I love that.
You.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being with us today, Alyse. I highly recommend, if you do get a chance, to go and have a look at that grounding exercise on SoundCloud, and also more of these wisdoms through the Talk to Me book that Alyse has created, if you haven't come across that yet. And if you're looking for any extra support in your life, in your physical, or anything that's coming up for you, I definitely vouch for Alyse and the way that she shows up in the world and she supports others. So
Thank you. Yeah. Just on a side note, what I've come to realize in the last few months is that healing is actually meaning a deepening of your consciousness, but we're in a stage of a expansion of consciousness. We're moving away from human consciousness back to divine consciousness, and that's what healing really means. Okay, there's more information, there's lots of information on my website, www.youngalyse.com, so feel free to visit. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.